I was going to try to do that, you jerk. Oh,
boom.
God. At least I have no shortage of thunder.
That's good.
Yeah, episode 131. We've got one book to review this week. There was some other cool stuff I thought that came out this week. I don't know what everybody else is reading. I think I've talked about this before, but everybody should be reading Savage Avengers. Like, I don't care if you're not even into Marvel. That book is just so much fun. Like, nothing else is that much fun. Like, I love Valiant, obviously. I don't do a Marvel podcast, but that book is so fun.
We're not going to get Marvel?
No. Not at all.
So what do you like? What do you like about Savage Avengers? Like, what's the whole premise of it? Because there's so many Avengers books, so I want to kind of know, like, what is their deal?
So it's essentially a Conan book that also has the Punisher, Wolverine, Venom, Elektra, some voodoo guy that I'm not familiar with. But it's like the most badass and fun book imaginable. Like, at one point, Wolverine gets like knocked out, and so Conan just swings him around and uses his, hand blades as a weapon. So Conan's just like swinging Wolverine around and shit. Like, Conan gets wounded and a symbiote, like grafts onto him to keep him alive, and then he has a symbiote sword that he's carrying around, and he calls it Crom the whole time, and like, it's just so badass. Like, it's super awesome Conan, and then every other, like, just ultimate badassery from the rest of the characters. I don't know how.
Yeah, I was gonna say that team seems like it's just made up of a bunch of killers.
Yeah, and it just, like, they fight the Hand or whatever, and it's so brutal.
That's really cool.
The other thing that came out this week that I was hoping to get to read, but haven't, as of this moment, I haven't read it yet. I will probably after we're done here, but that was this one, and I believe that you actually got to read this, Josh. Midnight Vista. I don't know.
Yeah, so Midnight Vista or Vista. I'm assuming it's Vista. I've probably just been mispronouncing it the entire time. It's a really interesting story. It's a little dark, a little bit of mystery to it. Basically, it centers around a kid and his stepdad that get abducted by aliens. And I don't want to go too crazy into it because I know that Eric wants to read it. It's written by ex-Valiant writer Elliot Ray Hall. And if you listen to this, you know that Eric and I would assume John, although he hasn't really partaken in these conversations as much, but we're all big fans of Elliot. He's a really nice guy. We like his writing. And I thought this book is really strong. It's really well written. There's some cool, I don't know if I'd say cool, but there's like there's some gruesome stuff like on a couple of pages that like I just feel like is going to probably sit with me for a bit. But overall, like, if you want to read like a nice, cool alien abduction story, Midnight Vista is way good. And that's the only thing I've even read this week. Yeah. Yeah, he's super nice. So if you have the chance to talk to him at a convention, do it, because sometimes you never know like what someone's personality is going to be like. Some people are outgoing, they'll talk with you. Some people don't want to say much to you. But Elliot's awesome to talk to. He'll chat with you for as long as you can handle it. So it's recommended.
Yeah, he's actually on a little like tour around the Midwest that he's doing right now. So I don't know how many people that are listening that might be able to go see him, but I know he's going to like Indiana and Illinois and Wisconsin. He just did an appearance at a comic shop today here in Minnesota, and then for the next few days, I guess he's kind of going around the Midwest and doing some signings and things. So if you're in any of those areas, I definitely recommend checking out. And Oh, you're muted. For some reason you're not coming through on the feed. Like I can um nobody can hear you. I don't know why I don't know what you did, but you done messed something up.
Oh no, you didn't.
Um yeah, Spawn 300 is what Hoosier was saying that came out. I haven't read Spawn in a while, but I have liked a bunch of Todd McFarlane's pages or whatever on Facebook. So he's like constantly talking about that stuff. So I've seen a lot of the pictures that he's posted and things like that. And I imagine it's probably badass. I just have felt like Spawn tends to be the same story over and over again. I don't know if you guys have read enough Spawn to dispute that.
Not a long time ago, but I mean, like when the book launched, I obviously, like a lot of people, I was reading it because it sold so many copies. Everybody was reading Spawn. And when every once in a while, I'll still pick up an issue, and I always think the same thing every time I pick it up. Why did I buy this? I have no clue what's going on, and the issue makes no sense to me. It looks pretty. I don't know who draws it, but it's a pretty book. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense because, like I said, I can't pick it up and make heads or tails about what's going on with it. But I would imagine if you're like a dedicated reader, you know what's going on with Spawn. We'll see if a movie
I think
happens.
I'm back on. I got some mic, guys, so hopefully I fixed it. One of the guys, I like Jason Sean Alexander, the artist on Spawn. The dude is freaking talented beyond all means. And it's supposed to be a huge book, this one. So, and I was talking about how we talk about the Valiant movie news, but Jamie Foxx is going to be the Bloodshot. We're talking a lot of Bloodshot. But Spawn, Jamie Foxx is going to be the new Spawn coming out next year too. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I've heard some different things about how the production has been going, but anyway,
hopefully, real quick, I do hope that Todd McFarlane is killed in the next movie also, like he was in the first one.
He was laughing about that, how he was Spawn kills everyone, how he killed himself in Spawn because everybody gave him a hard time. So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
The other thing that happened that's more Valiant related, I guess. I mean, not really a big thing that happened, but we did get another interview with Dave Wilson, the director of the Bloodshot movie. And I think that, Hoosier kind of pointed out earlier when we were chatting that he does kind of say a lot of the things in this interview that he said previously. But I do think that one of the things that this interview does is it shows how he's been thinking about the movie. And he kind of gets pretty in depth into like how he's approached this whole project. And I really like that, he's keeping in mind the long game, but his main focus is on let's make a good movie, like Iron Man was a good movie, and without that you wouldn't have been able to have the Marvel Universe, so we need a good movie to go anywhere from here.
Absolutely. I love the way he's positioning that. Again, how he talks about Dinesh and how if I make any wrong move, Dinesh is right there. I do think he went in a little bit more details about the actors too, a little bit today, the different actors or this interview this week. But needless to say, I think what I get out of it is it's in good hands. So more so, the more you hear him talk, the more passionate he is about it. The more he likes Eric Heiser, or the more the acting, the crew, the more it just kind of makes me feel at ease that it's in good hands and it's going to be a decent product.
I didn't listen to the latest interview, so I have no opinion.
Josh, Josh is just like
I was so busy. I've just been so busy with stuff. I couldn't get to it. What?
You don't get your Get Valiant paycheck this week.
Oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna make it without it. I'll be telling you right now.
But he does get quoted by the Valiant voice. Look at that.
Correct.
That was cool. That was really cool because you guys told me that. I wasn't like waiting at my email, like, oh man, I can't wait for them to like call me out. But that's cool. I'll tell you what. If I could say something for a minute. The review copy came out Friday afternoon. At least that's when we got it. And I was asked like, "Oh, will you write a review for it by out at Geekery?" So I did it, and I hurried. I got as fast as I could. But by the time I had even submitted it, this image that has like all these quotes from all these people, some of these people I know, just from like talking with on Facebook or Twitter, and I was like, shit, I was so slow on this, and I don't even know how I could have even been faster. But I was like, oh man, I like totally missed my shot, like getting my name up there. So it was actually really cool to see that in email.
Yeah, and I appreciate that they
shout out the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, mention Get Valiant, and then obviously, yeah, that they're linking to your review. That's really cool. I hope your feelings aren't hurt too bad. But I have not read your written review of it. I assume that we'll be talking about this book in depth when it comes out. So
that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I wouldn't, I mean, that's kind of how we've always operated with things here. Is that we wait till like the last minute to like read anything, and sometimes I'm the one that jumps the gun. I have to read things months in advance. I still have not read Rye number 1, so I'm gonna really wait. I've looked at a bit of it. I still haven't read it though. But man, it was one of those things like this thing that happened. It was like a feel good moment because I think that like as a reviewer, which I still try to be, it's kind of a thankless job with many people because many people don't really care about reviews. It's not that big of a deal. So it's cool when a company will give you the time of day, and Valiant's done that for me a few times. They still haven't put anything I've said on a cover yet, like they did Eric. I believe Eric got something put on a cover once when you used to reviews.
I just had my star rating. I rated something Ninjak well, and so
that's put still more than me. Still more than me.
Come on, need our faces on all the covers. Like every cover of a Valiant issue should have our faces.
I think it would be cool to have a Get Valiant quote, right? Like, yeah.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. Because you know what? Like, I get that. Like, we're a part of the name. Like it says, Get Valiant. That's what we are. We do everything Valiant. But come on, Valiant. You couldn't throw us a bone just one time and be like, hey, they all liked this book. Put it on the back.
Come on, Greg. We know you're there.
Well, I guess I should say, though, there's a few trade paperbacks that do have parts of my reviews on the back of them. But
that's true.
Put us on the front, Valiant. Come on. We're all good dudes.
Yeah, well, we don't write our reviews, though. We say them, and nobody transcribes them. So they
can't. There's somebody listening, guys. There. I know that.
We're pretty needy dudes. I mean, we want our carbon fiber cover. Like, what's going on?
I want my face on the cover, and then I want one of those little things inside so that when you open it up, you hear my voice.
What I always tell the kids, though, is at least say please.
Yeah. I think, though, like, as a person, like going back to reviewing for a moment, just, like, real quick, I always feel like that's, like, the ultimate, like, compliment of writing a review is that you get something of what you've written or said on the book. So that's always been, like, a small little goal in the back of my mind. Like, it'd be cool if they thought something I said was important enough for someone to read.
I know.
So.
Well, like you said, you had your reviews on the trades, and I think that, honestly, the back of a trade is where new readers go to find out whether or not they want to check something out. And the idea that your words on the back of the trade could contribute to a new fan, deciding whether to pick up and try out a Valiant book, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And if you're ever a fan who's a fan because of me, I can give you my PayPal info later. So just get me on that.
That's right.
We're talking all this about reviews. What if we did a review?
Well, what would we have to review, though, Eric?
We would have, because some of us actually go to the comic book store from time to time.
Oh.
Throwing shade. We had Fallen 505. So, I mean, here we are. Spoilers. We're going to talk spoilers. Anybody watching or listening, hopefully you've read this book for more than one reason, more than just the spoilers. Hopefully you've read it because it's awesome. But so we finally got to the end of Fallen World. Because I did read that Rye number 1 as soon as they sent it to us, I've been really curious about how Fallen World was going to end, because I've had this pretty solid idea of some of the fallout from Fallen World and what characters are going to be doing afterward, but I had no idea how it got there. So it was really interesting to see how this issue went. And honestly, from what I already knew, this issue is not at all what I expected. And I think that's really cool that I even thought that I really had it spoiled for me, but I still did not see most of what happened in this issue coming. I thought it was really fun. I think that the art has been a little wishy-washy sometimes on this book, but I thought this issue was really solid. So I think that this is one of the better issues as far as the art goes. It's still not like my favorite style, but I do think it's really good. There's some really, really awesome characters. Something that I've been saying about this book the entire time it's been coming out is that I like that we're getting a book about this world, not just about Rye. Obviously, we've got Rye coming, and that'll be much more Rye focused. But I like that we got this book that's about the whole planet and all these other things that are going on. And I love the way everything kind of came back together at the end of the issue, or at the end of the story. This was just a really satisfying read. It's maybe not my favorite thing that Valiant's put out, but it was a really satisfying read.
I love this issue. And I've been one of those people who's been a little wishy-washy on the art. But I'll tell you what, I thought this page had a lot to look at that was fantastic. There's I think it's like the second page or the third page where you finally see Rye or Taka, the elephant guy, and they're just like beating ass everywhere around them. I thought that was such a strong page. Also, this review wouldn't even work if I didn't point out that there's a dude that gets a tusk right through the face.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I hate.
Yeah, it's so badass. It was such a cool thing. So there was like a little bit of blood to this book. It had a lot of action.
Right there.
I like, yes. But like Eric was saying, I loved all these characters, and I like the fact that they're all still around. So without reading Rye, I've seen some of the preview pages. I had questions about little Raijin, how he was going to make it through this because he's been on Father's side the entire time. And even with issue 4, you do kind of see that he's starting to have doubts about it. But I like the fact that he's the one that kind of gets Rye out of there because Rye is so focused on trying to defeat Father, even though he doesn't have the means, which I also thought was an interesting way to wrap up this miniseries because a lot of times people never point out that a villain can just not be beaten. They don't have what it takes. Somehow the hero always finds a way. So with Fallen World, the fact that Rye, he's just so focused and obsessed with trying to defeat Father, and he can't. He doesn't have it. They don't have that thing that can even defeat him. I thought that was a really interesting turn for this book. And not a bad one at all. I like that. And Rataka's awesome, and Rye has been awesome. Rye just looked awesome in this book too. Like when there's a panel where he says he's going to kill Father, I thought it just looked great. Like the art was just really good here. And maybe it's just me. The art's probably not really changed as much. Maybe it's just my own feelings towards the art have changed here and there. But I really thought this was a great issue. Dan Abnett knocked this out of the park. It was such a good miniseries.
Yeah. I really think this one brought it home. I really think it closed out this kind of Fallen World piece to get us a good arc to go there. I really enjoyed Rye in general. His just intensity that he had throughout this book was really kind of got me fired up too, because the way he was running after it. There's some characters in there that were in and out, and we're talking art a little bit. I was just really disappointed with the way Eternal Warrior looked, especially in this issue. Outside of that, I liked the art, but I just thought they did a poor job on Eternal Warrior. I don't know, there's just some images in there, some panels in there that I wasn't impressed with. But ultimately, just Ortaka, cool as hell. I love his voice that Dan Abnett gave. Like, you could just, you could hear his voice with what he was saying, and I just dug the anamorphic characters that came out of this within this realm. And then, Raijin. I really question that guy's motives, man. Even though I think he might just be the Trojan horse, and this is just my, theory that what we're going to see in Rye is we're going to see Raijin use Rye to gather all of the younglings or whatever you want to call them for Father. And he's just there watching Rye and having Rye motivate to do it. And it's basically collecting the Infinity Stones for Thanos.
Maybe, but
I don't think
it's
that's what's going to happen.
You what?
Personally.
I
don't
hope
think
not.
that's
I
what's
feel
gonna
like it's
happen,
very the easiest way out.
What?
We'll see. I think though the story is set up in a way where there's a lot of world building that still needs to happen. they've only had this one little sector that they've lived in, and now they found another place to live. I think that even with that, it brings a whole new world to the story, to this whole setting. So I think, I mean, like that would. I don't know if it'd be disappointing if they go that route that you described. I guess everything depends on the execution, but with this, I thought the world is so opened up. There's so much more they can do. Maybe we'll see some more 4001 iterations of the characters. Maybe Shadow Man shows up finally, again from his weird story
Well,
he
we
had
need like
once.
40-foot Shadow Woman, don't we?
Yeah, that's
No thanks. So I think one of the things that I really liked about the writing here is that Dan Abnett really captures, especially Raijin, and I think that moment at the end when he turns on Father, or reveals that he's turned on Father, that is very much in Raijin's character. I mean, he was, as he says, he was built to promote harmony, and Father's doing the exact opposite of that. And yeah, and I think that, and maybe this is because I've read Rai issue 1, but I mean, you can tell by the end of Fallen World that Rai and Raijin are going off, and they kind of have this quest that they're going on, and that's very much, well, I mean, you see the preview pages in the back of Fallen World for Rai #1, that's what Rai and Raijin are doing in Rai #1 is, they're kind of on this journey by themselves to find and destroy these offspring, and I would be very surprised if it turns out that Raijin is working for Father still. But I did want to point out that badass scene that I was trying to show the page of, and that you guys had brought up. Sean mentioned, and I didn't even actually notice this, when, what is his name? Ortaka?
Yeah, Ortaka.
Ortaka.
When Ortaka impales the Circadian, he's actually getting chopped by a huge meat cleaver in the cheek. And I didn't even notice that because I was so busy trying to make sure that was actually the Circadian that got gored, because I hate that guy. So I'm pretty stoked. Pretty stoked that he's the one that's getting just absolutely crushed. And yeah, having his entire throat impaled. I don't know. That was pretty fucking cool. It does suck. Obviously, Father brings him back at the end. Can't let him off.
Yeah. As far as like, one thing I think about this, and this is such a weird thing to like, but with Raijin alive, can we just have like one moment where we see like a Bodo still alive? I know that's like a weird thing.
That's exactly where my mind went to.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, he's the baddest dude. He's so rad, and if they could make the little positronic boy still alive, and he got like gunned down, you gotta make sure that dude's alive, even if he's evil. I don't even care. He was just such a rad character. He was like a Sith Lord almost, the sorts of like the whole ride, body set and all that. But like
an anti-hero, I think that would be perfect.
I'm just saying, somehow Valiant make it work. Dan Abnett make it work, please.
Yeah, Sean Hayes saying everybody wants him. We don't always agree. Sean Hayes and I don't always see eye to eye. Like he held his tongue when I was talking about Savage Avengers earlier, because I know that he doesn't really enjoy that one. But even he's saying everybody wants to see a Bodo. And yeah, I mean, that whole the Rai arc during the 4001 AD event was with really a Bodo heavy, and it was so badass with Cafu drawing him. So definitely would be happy to see more of that.
You know that we like to say that in the Valiant universe, dead equals dead. It doesn't always mean that, though, because we've seen like Kay come back from death, and
right.
she became Deathmate. But I just am saying I wouldn't complain about this one.
Yeah. So for me, I do think that this is a really solid book, but I can't say that I love it. So I think that it deserves a high score. I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5. I do think that it's really solid. Like Hoosier was saying, it's a good end to what we've gotten from this story so far. And I'm really excited to, get Rai #1 coming out and be able to talk about that and see where that book goes. Because I think that it's really cool that we're actually going to have this character on the shelf again.
Sorry, I got mixed up in our chat. I'm a little higher on this. I'm about 4.25 on this. I thought this was a really good ending. And I think I can finally now read Ride Number One, so I guess I'll go dig that out.
Yeah, I like I say, I dug the way it ended. I do think this is one of the better books that we have out right now, or that was out right now, and I do think that it's set up to be in a good spot to come back in November. Take a month off and come back, and we can get into, like I say, Ride Number One, read that up, and come back at it with that. So yeah, I'm glad Dan Abnett's on it. I'm excited for the new art team, Juan Jose Reed. I think he's going to kill it in this new world building. I would have loved to have seen him done this issue with all the anamorphic characters, but it's still there.
Yeah. But you know what's great about this, and I believe we talked about this either when we did the review for issue 4, but it's awesome that this wraps up, we get a 1 month break, and then we're going to get Ride Number One. A lot of times it just seems like there's too much of a wait between the continuation of the story when it comes to these miniseries. And with the way this one ends, where you know the father's alive and the heroes, they have a victory, but they still have to regroup and kind of take it again in a different format on how they're going to defeat father. If we had to wait until like next year for this, it'd be such a bummer.
Right, I agree.
Yeah. So did I miss it? Or you guys give scores?
I don't think I
I'll
gave
get
a
a score.
score. I'm going to say a 4.25.
Hoosier didn't give a score. Yay, me and him are on the same level. What's up with that?
So I was low on this time. But
Yeah.
obviously we
Well,
all
you gotta
give
be
it
hating,
high
Eric.
scores. I mean 4 point. Yeah.
Why
Pretty
don't
much.
you like this book?
I basically hate Valiant is what's happening because I gave this book a 4.
Why are you killing this book? It's not going to come out.
Oh, you son of a bitch. No, I think it was a great book. And I also think that this is going to read really well as a trade. But speaking of which, something that Valiant used to always do, and I've noticed is not happening as much, is they don't put like the summary of what's happened with the catch up.
Right, they don't give you a quick like synopsis of what's been happening in the prior issues.
Yeah, we used to get that all the time, and that was really nice. And that made the, like, even for myself, I mean, obviously I read everything that's coming out, but when it's a month between issues and I've got every other Valiant book that I've read between Fallen World issues, I've read everything else Valiant has done in between, and I'm reading, books from other publishers, and got all these other things going on. So it's kind of nice to have those.
I agree. I noticed that the fronts
reminder.
are quite a bit different depending on which editors has them too. So, like, there's a little bit of a different touch depending on the editor, too, which kind of makes sense that they would do that, but it's not as uniform as it once was.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to always be everything the same. It's just something that I noticed that it sucks to come into the first page, be like, wait, what are they talking about? Oh, yeah, no, I remember. I don't know. Either way, like I said, that this is a great book. Oh, so Scott Bloom is in the comments saying that we're not going to get the Bloodshot trailer until after NYCC, and if that is the case, I will probably lose my mind.
I think it will happen at NYCC because that's a huge show for Valiant. They have a good presence. They always do a lot of exclusives. They know that they're going to have a lot of fans there. That's the place to do it. I don't know how much on the how much talking there is between like Valiant and then like the Sony section that's doing this movie. But I would be surprised if we didn't have one at that show, if they didn't have at least a big panel, because they can make a lot of news.
Yeah.
Especially there.
I know October 4th, the R-rated Joker movie is coming out, so I feel like that would be a good movie to kind of get it launched out with as well. And that would put us right at NYC the same date. I mean, that's right there.
Well, fingers crossed we get it sooner rather than later. There was a rumor going around that we were potentially going to see a trailer on Labor Day or whatever. And obviously that didn't happen, but
Teaser image.
I'm losing it, guys. Yeah, I mean, we did get that Dave Wilson interview, which didn't suck. I mean, it was awesome to see him talk about it more. Okay, so Scott has copied something Dinesh put on Twitter. NYCC is way too early for a big show. we'll try and do something small there and kick off right after.
If that's the case, that's a bummer. But I mean, this is turning into like Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe 2.0, where all we did was bitch and moan that we didn't get another trailer or any footage or any news. And at least this actually feels like it'll happen a lot sooner than that did.
If they push back the release date for Bloodshot, I'm going to be so bummed.
I don't think they would.
I would.
There's a lot of star power to that movie. Like if nothing else, like that movie is going to have a lot of like famous faces in it, and I think that they're not going to move anything for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually got some pretty awesome actors in this. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that the first Valiant movie is going to have like Toby Kebbell and Guy Pearce and I don't know.
Right. And the lead that's going to be on Fast and Furious filming it now with Vin Diesel as well, that Elza Gonzalez.
Yeah, she was in Baby Driver, I think.
And she's like I say, she's on the next Fast and Furious too as one of the female leads.
And then that guy Sam Hugan or whatever his name is, he seems to be like a big deal, and he's in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the show that Sam Heughan is from, but from everything I've seen, he seems really into it. I remember seeing a tweet from somebody that was saying something about like your life isn't complete if you don't if you're not watching every Marvel movie that comes out or something like that. And Sam Heughan retweeted it and said "Valiant for life" or something like that. So I don't remember the exact quote, but I do think it's cool that we've got people like them that are kind of out there, evangelizing for Valiant like a lot of us have done over the years. Yeah, it's just like I said, I want to see it sooner rather than later. But one of the things Dave Wilson was saying in that interview is that he would rather have the trailer and the movie or whatever the trailer come out later and have it be right as opposed to just rush it out. And I get that. I don't want them to put out a rushed product. I want a really well thought out product right now.
I want it yesterday. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, man. That's not too much to ask.
But
no, I don't know. I mean, we'll get it when we get it, it'll be cool. But speaking of things that we have to look forward to, we do have, I think, one issue coming out next week and a couple of, an issue, a trade, and that's a hardcover, right?
No, that's a softcover, I believe.
So I think it's 24 issues.
Okay.
Wait, are you talking about the one that you're showing the image of right now? Because I think that's just a trade paperback of like the first year of Bloodshot. That's not the Kevin Van Hook omnibus. That comes out at the end of the month, I believe, or it comes out in October.
I know that. I guess I just didn't. I thought that this Bloodshot Definitive Edition was a little bit bigger. I wasn't sure if that was a hardcover
I think it's
or not. Obviously,
the first two hardcovers. Like I said, I think it's 24 issues, so it's kind of an omnibus style. Since you can't get the hardcover Bloodshot 2012 anywhere right now, so I guess it makes sense that they put it out now.
Yeah. Send it to me in review.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Let's get that whole omnibus. I don't know. It'd be cool to read, go through. But
we have all the issues.
I mean, it'd be cool to have it in one spot. I don't know if I'll be able to by buying that though, because I'm sure that they're going to be asking more than $20 for it. No, we're getting a new issue of Livewire, number 10, if I'm not mistaken, and the most recent Livewire trade. So, yeah, Guardian was the trade, and then we've got, I don't remember if the story right now is Hero, but they need to put out trades of Bloodshot Rising Spirit. I don't know, Scott. I mean, I'm sure that we'll get a trade of it eventually, but I'm not sure that. Scott's saying that they need to put out trades of Bloodshot Rising Spirit, but I think putting out the stuff from the 2012, and even if we got like a repackaging of the Valiant and Bloodshot Reborn, I think that would be a really good way to bring in, capitalize on people's interest in Bloodshot.
I'm trying to forget that Rising Spirit even happened, though.
Well, every Bloodshot forgot that it happened.
It's over. Get 2012. Let's get into the Valiant. Let's get some Jeff Lemire, and let's see what Tim Seeley has. Man, he got some action lined up for us, and hopefully.
So stoked for issue 1 of Bloodshot from Tim Seeley, and I can't wait till we see what's going on with Exo Manowar. We've been teased that a bunch more stuff is coming that we don't know about. They announced however long ago that there was going to be a visitor book. Who knows when that's coming? I don't know. I think that there's a lot of cool stuff coming, regardless of movie and whatnot. The most important thing to me is still the comics, and we've got a lot of really good comics. I know that Fallen World has been really good. I mean, I gave the low score, and I gave it a 4. So, I mean, coming into Rye, I think we've got a lot of positive momentum. And Rye is the continuity book that everybody's been begging for. And then, like I said, I mean, a lot of other good stuff. We're going to have another new Bloodshot book on the shelf, a new Exo book on the shelf soon. Hopefully more of the new characters coming. We've got Killers and Roku coming, but hopefully we'll see a Ninjak book soon. So Shadow Man.
On Rye, I mean, I know you guys have talked about it before, and it's been talked about with Valiant, is when you have a creator on one property for a long time. Venditti with Exo, and then Matt jumped on it. Then you had Dysart with Harbinger, then Rafer jumped on. Then you had Van Lente with Rafer jumping on after Archer and Armstrong, right? Kent was the only one with Rye now. So what would you guys kind of say with Abnett? How would you rate him with those guys jumping on after a long series with somebody else to be the next creator to touch that product?
I don't look at Rye in the same regard as I would look at, say, Archer and Armstrong and Harbinger, especially Harbinger. I feel like anybody who was going to follow follow what Dysart did, was going to be in some really big shoes. And Rafer's run is not looked at as something great. It started out good. I don't know what happened with it, but it's not very good in the long run. But at the same time, though, I think Rafer did a great job on Archer and Armstrong. I really feel like he had a voice for those characters. It just didn't sell very well, which is always like a Valiant problem, where those books just don't sell very well sometimes. But, I think that with what I've seen so far with Fallen World, I feel like Dan Abnett has a really good understanding of 4001, 4002. He's put a lot of thought into like some of the characters that are popping up now, the elephant tribes, these animal people. They're awesome, and I thought that this was a great story. So if he can continue this, it'll be great, because Rye was good. It was really good before, and I would say this isn't as good. But we also had 16 issues of Kent, plus we had the 4001 event. But I would say that he's definitely trending upward as far as a creator getting a stab at a character for the second time, where we've already had someone on it who was already awesome. So we'll see, but he's trending up.
So I would compare it. It's not exactly the same, but I would compare it a little bit to, we had an amazing run on Ninjak from Kent, and then Christos Gage came in and gave us that Ninja K book that I don't think any of us expected it to be what it was, or as good as it ended up being. And I think that I don't like Fallen World as much as I liked the first arc of Ninja K. So maybe Dan Abnett isn't starting off, as strong from my perspective as Christos Gage did. But I do think that they've both, come onto those characters that had history, had recent books, and respected that history while still taking a new approach. And I think that's what that's what we obviously got from Christos Gage with Ninja K. And that's what I feel like we're getting from a Dan Abnett with Rye. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's not trying to erase anything. But I do think that, he's picked up where Matt Kent left off and taken it in his own new direction, which really I think is the best thing that we could hope for. I want to see, Tim Seeley come on to Bloodshot. I don't want to see him try to write Jeff Lemire's Bloodshot. I want to see him write Tim Seeley's Bloodshot. And I think that's what we're getting here. Dan Abnett is respecting Kent's Rye, but it's not, he's not trying to recreate it. And I do think that the new Rye title the pages look amazing. Like, are they Clayton Crane? No. But they're Juan Jose Reap, and they look fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, is just the respect of the prior product, and yet still doing your own thing, your own voice, but yet still trying to keep that character with with that similar voice, that thread going through. So yeah.
So something that's come up in the live chat, I'm 100% down for a Neela and Savage team up. I think I agree with Scott that it would be great to get some more time travel. I thought that Ben Linton's Ivar 12-issue run was phenomenal. So I definitely would like to see, him or, somebody else that has a good story like Elliot Ray Hall or whatever. Bring Justin Jordan back into the Valiant universe. I bet he could tell a good Savage story, or if D. Clay Moore doesn't have one or whatever. Like, I don't know. But
see, and I feel like the Time Walker thing is the perfect example of things that sit on the shelf for too long. Because when did Time Walker end? Like 3 years ago, and we're still waiting to see like what happens with Neela. Like she popped up for like 5 minutes and like X amount of words, 50,
right? Or no?
And that's it.
Faith.
Yeah, she was with Faith.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that. So it's like we need some more. We need more of that character.
Well, Neela and Savage together.
Done.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
I also thought Sean Hayes brought up another point that was good too about 4002 Bloodshot and how he's been taken over by Father. He might be beyond repair. Who knows? And it's kind of sad to see him go. I do hope they find a way to separate Father from the future Bloodshot, just because future Bloodshot was awesome.
I totally agree. Like, I think Bloodfather is cool, but I could not agree more that I really, really want to see that, Lemire's creation come back. Like, I loved that. And I understand, we're not going to get Lemire writing it. That's fine. But I loved that version of Bloodshot, that future Bloodshot, so much. It would suck if we never get him back. I mean, I don't necessarily need him back in Rye #1, but it would be cool if we get him back eventually.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, I would go for some more Ivar though, or some. Like, I think we've talked about it, is some Eternal Brothers. Something Eternal Brothers all together would be pretty cool.
Immortal siblings, get all four of them together.
I guess now, there is that. So,
I think that'd be awesome. I think that they could have some pretty intense adventures. Can you imagine Gilad and Vexana, and then Ivar and Armstrong trying to keep him in line?
Yep.
It could be good.
That sounds like a lot of fun to me. But anyway, we have real books that are coming that I think are going to be awesome. I think it's really cool that we've gotten, Livewire was supposed to be a 4-issue series, maybe 5, and here we are at issue 10. I'm pretty sure it's going to 12, and I think that's awesome that Livewire kind of is getting the spotlight a little bit. I'm sad that book is ending, and I hope that she doesn't end up sitting on a shelf. I think she's a really badass character. I think Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe showed us just how amazingly badass Livewire can be. I thought she was the standout. I remember Aaron Schoenke saying that they basically only added Livewire to the series because they felt like Ninjak needed a good fight at the end of the first episode. And she ended up being one of the most awesome parts of the entire thing. So I'm like, I would say the same thing with like Dysart's Harbinger run. Maybe she wasn't the most badass thing in that run, but I don't know, man. Like, I think she ended up being a lot more badass than anybody expected her to be. And I think that that's been the case with her as a character. It's one of the things I love about her. And I just, like I said, don't want to see her sit on the shelf like we've seen a lot of other characters sit. Because you're putting out 6-7 books a month, not every character gets that, that solo book, but hopefully if we get more Harbinger.
That's what I was about to say. I predict a Harbinger book to come out of that after the fall of Toyo Harada, Life and Death Toyo Harada, and then the end of this arc with Livewire. Predicting that there's something Harbinger to tie it all together.
Yeah, and I think Livewire is too big of a character to just leave sitting around with nothing going on with her. So even if she doesn't have her own book, put her in a supporting role in something that keeps her around, keeps her in front of readers, just so that people don't forget about the character.
Give us a Livewire and Ninjak team up. I don't know.
Yeah. We know that they listen to us. We know that Valiant listens to us because our ideas do happen. So
that's why we know that Armorines book is coming. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but our Marines book that
It's next year, man. Next year is going to happen.
it's on its way, bro. On its way. No, good times. I mean, we only had the one issue. It looks like we got one issue next week. But hopefully between now and next week we'll get some more news. Obviously more Dave Wilson interviews would be fine by me. Any Bloodshot news would be cool. But we'll see if we get any other new books or anything else coming because we are, getting closer and closer to the end of the year. Valiant's been saying that as we roll into 2020, it's going to be huge. So wouldn't be surprised if there's some more surprises coming our way, but we'll just have to wait and see. I do want to say thanks for everybody hanging out. Sean Hayes obviously hanging out. Scott Bloom joining us and dropping some wisdom that we don't want to hear about stuff that Dinesh has said that makes me want to cry. Yeah, everybody. I know Crispy Bacon was hanging out earlier, and yeah, it's always cool to have people chatting with us and improving our show. I feel, and yeah, more cool stuff to look forward to in the future. This has been Get Valiant number 131. Signing off. I'm Eric Baumgart.
And I'm John Hoosier. Subscribe.
I hope that you all